Welcome back to the Culture of Currency, where today we are taking a look at a classic coin when it comes to the iconography found on this coin. This is an iconography that is found really globally at this point. Its origins are around the Mediterranean, but we see this iconography all the way through Russia, over towards Libya. I've even seen it over in Asia, and that is St. George and the Dragon. Now, this is a coin that I picked up a couple years ago that's St. George and the Dragon. This is not the one we're talking about today, but it kind of falls within the same series. As you notice, in this older coin, we have Her Majesty. We have one of the coolest checkered patterns I find in all of coins, this background here that you see. And this is a traditional St. George and the Dragon image. Notice we have, upon the noble steed, St. George here, vanquishing his foe. If you don't know the history and lore behind St. George and the Dragon, there's many variations based on which region of the world the legend is coming from, but the idea is the same. You have basically a woman, a damsel in distress, who's near this enchanted bog thing, and a dragon is guarding it. And so in order to free her, St. George has to go and, with his mighty lance and sword, strike her down, or strike, not her, strike the dragon down. But that's, kind of the old story. And of course, there are variations. Here is the one that I just picked up right here. By the way, if you like cases like this, 15% off at SafePub using my coupon code. So obviously we see the monarch has changed. This is a different year. Let me give you a zoom on this. We have St. George, or not St. George, we have Charles. And notice right here I have some marring or clipping, I guess, on the strike, making mine custom, of course. I reached out to APMEX about that, and they said I could send it back for a new one. But after thinking about it, I was like, you know what? This is the only one in the world probably like this. And though it may detract from value, it is kind of an error and it is kind of cool. So I decided to keep it, which makes me weird, but that's okay. So as you see on the obverse here, we have Charles, and the redesign here on the reverse reminds me more of the Britannia. It's gorgeous, as you can see. It's a little bit more zoomed in, a different perspective from the old garb over here, as you can see. But what I like is kind of the radiant lines that we have coming down. It reminds me of the Britannia more. Obviously, we have the carryover with the ancient Roman and Greek iconography with that helmet. And then we have the small band lettering round there towards the rim, reminding you of the purity and the weight and all those things, that so that it's not having to get caught up. For example, look at all the real estate we have here. They tucked it away, so if you care about that stuff, you can look at it, and if you care about the image, here it is. Just a gorgeous look. So what we're going to do is, since we already have done a video over this legend, if you want to know more about St. George the Dragon, I have a very in-depth video over the history and iconography, and you can check it out on my channel. And if you don't, we're going to get straight into ranking this just beautiful coin on our 60-point scale. So the first thing we always talk about is the obverse. And as you can see, this obverse is gorgeous. We have Charles here, which I know there are a lot of people that like and don't like, and I get it. But what I love about it is, once again, this radiant pattern. The first coin I think I had with this pattern on it was an old lunar coin from the UK, the Rat, and it had this pattern, and I fell in love with it ever since. It's just really cool. It almost makes little centric rings if you look closely. Really cool font. I think that it's well balanced, and because this is obviously from the UK, the monarch, even if you don't like it, makes most sense. If you have an issue with Tokelau or one of these protectorates having the monarch, there's some justification for your concern, but this is literally coming from the land with the king, and therefore I don't think that's a detraction at all. I think it's gorgeous, and I scored a 9. I really do. Now we go to the reverse, as we just talked about. It is fantastic. There are so many good renderings of this scene. We know that they're on the gold sovereigns. We've seen them in Russia. We've seen them in Africa and over in Asia. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous iconography of the valiant steed and his rider here overcoming all odds and striking down that beast. Just gorgeous. The background is great. It doesn't detract, but it does add quite a bit of interest visually. They tucked away all of the needed text in a way where you can find it if you know where it's at, and it doesn't detract. So I think it's a perfect 10 for this. Now, a big issue we're going to have is our next category, which is mintage. This is a highly minted coin that we don't have a number on, and so therefore I have to score it a neutral 5, which, given a number, could really benefit it or hurt it. If there's 2 million of these minted, then yes, it's going to go below 5. If there's 100,000 of these minted, it's going to go up a little bit, which could help it. With cultural significance being next, we have a coin that has a significant theme and message to many world countries, England obviously included. This is one of those World Heritage things that I think more of the old world countries have in common than they do have different. So a lot of countries of the old world have a version of this or the exact version of this. And so therefore I have to score it a 10. When it comes to collectability, we have one of the most unique and iconic themes, which I find make it highly collectible. Obviously, this is not a series in silver that has run, to my knowledge, an incredibly long time, such as the Kookaburra, where we're sitting well over 30 years now, but it is one that I think is incredibly, incredibly valuable culturally and historically to many cultures, including the UK. And so, that being said, the collectability factor I find quite high. I score it an 8. And then our last category is uniqueness. As you know, this is not necessarily the most unique theme. It is fairly unique in bullion, however. It's on a lot of coins, just not bullion coins. So there's a handful of bullion coins out there that do feature St. George and the Dragon, many of which are gorgeous, by the way. This one, being English, is carrying on the series, and it seems that they're not sticking to one design where every single year it's the same, at least not with the two that I have, being a 2023 and a 2024. So I do give it a little bit of respect there, and I scored it a 7, which brings us to our final thoughts and score. This here, St. George and the Valiant, leaps over the line at a 49 out of 60, just by 1 point missing our elite level. So if it were to have a little bit better scoring in mintage, then it would absolutely be elite. And that tells us that the design is elite. It tells us that the story is elite, the cultural significance is elite, and so on. So definitely a cool coin worth considering. If the margins of profit make sense, I would absolutely snag one. You probably are not going to get the marred one like I have, so I've already taken that bullet for you. But that is what we have. I hope you enjoy this coin as much as I do. I'd love to know in the comments what you think about it. And as always, please remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.